I know I promised the next video would be the second half of the Golgo 13 feature, but sadly technical difficulties have held up the review of Queen Bee. Until such time as I can sort this out, I thought I'd take a minute or two to talk about some of the more obscure series that have been running this season and why you ought to check them out. Having seen the initial lineup, I actually thought the only thing I was going to watch was Arakawa Under the Bridge, a typically surreal offering from the Shaft stable under Akiyuki Shinbo. The series follows the trials of Ko, a wealthy young graduate who is saved from drowning by Nino, a homeless girl who insists she's from Venus. Ko's upbringing prevents him from owing anything to anyone, so after Nino plucks him from a watery grave, he insists on paying her back immediately in whatever way she pleases. Frustratingly for him, this is not an easy task, as she has absolutely no interest in material wealth. When Nino at last suggests she might like Ko to be her boyfriend instead, he jumps at the chance, little realizing that this means he must immediately move in with her and share her bizarre, hermit-like existence under a bridge. Narratively speaking, this is probably the most normal series Shaft has produced in quite a while, and thus far it's been quite successful. Unfortunately, I do have my concerns about its longevity. While I often find myself complaining that anime romantic comedies have a good supporting cast and terrible lead characters, this one seems to be the complete opposite. I genuinely like the main couple here, but I can't help cringing whenever any of the other oddball residents from the riverbank wander into the story. With the exception of Sister, the cross-dressing commando nun, most of the other characters are pretty irritating. They're certainly wacky, but under the kappa suits and star masks, I can't help feeling that they're just the same old comedy show clichés, and they're becoming increasingly necessary for the story to advance. If you can live with that, however, the series does have a lot going for it. The bizarre visual gags and oddball conversations conceal what is at heart a really rather quaint, old-fashioned sort of story. In its quieter moments, the series has plenty of easygoing charm, lending it the overall feel of a clever American indie movie. So all things considered, Arakawa Under the Bridge has actually been quite a heartwarming little series thus far, and I would cautiously recommend it if you're in the right frame of mind. One of two shows this season to come from the prestigious Noitamina block, House of Five Leaves is an enjoyably offbeat period piece about a jobless samurai who reluctantly falls in with a gang of kidnappers. Now, if you're anything like me, you probably heard the word samurai and immediately thought of epic bloody battles and possibly Toshiro Mifune looking a bit smug. If you went into this series expecting that, however, you'd be sorely disappointed. With barely any action scenes so far, Five Leaves instead concentrates on its cast of lovable misfits as they coast from job to job, debating the morality of what they're doing and how they came to be where they are now. The characters all seem well developed, but most interesting are the two leads. Akitsu, the well-meaning ronin with an extreme inferiority complex, and Yaichi, the charismatic gang leader who orchestrates the kidnappings. The story thus far mostly concentrates on the relationship between the two, as Yaichi tries to enlist Akitsu as a full-fledged gang member, while Akitsu tries to determine Yaichi's true motivations. It would be fair to say that the series is pretty subtle, so much so that I can see this putting some people off. The story moves at a leisurely pace, the events are not overly dramatic, and on one occasion the story moved into flashback and I didn't even realise until long after the episode was over. Lone Wolf and Cub it certainly ain't, but I would still urge everyone to give Five Leaves a shot. It is a mature and intelligent comic drama that makes for an extremely enjoyable change from the usual endless bloodletting associated with the samurai genre. Lastly, what I think is undoubtedly the strangest, but also possibly the most interesting show for this season, the second Noitamina offering, the Tatami Galaxy. Managing to out-weird even Shaft, this avant-garde offering from Madhouse combines live-action footage with stripped-back retro design work as it imparts the hopeless tale of an unnamed university student trying to fit in with campus society. Believing that joining a society will bring him the rosy college life he so desires, our hero signs up for the university tennis club, but finds himself immediately shunned by his indifferent peers. Joining forces with a hideous fellow student named Ozu, this terrible twosome attempt to wreak a juvenile, prank-laden revenge on everyone around them. When this inevitably fails to relieve his misery, the main character realises his only real chance at happiness seems to lie with acid-tongued colleague Akashi, if he hasn't already pushed her away. Having no prior knowledge of the series, it was only after the first episode that I realised the meaning of Ozu's taunt that whatever path the protagonist takes, he will always end up back at the same place. In true Groundhog Day fashion, each episode sends our hero back to the beginning of his course and allows him to join a different club. This may remind you of another recent series with a particularly awful plot arc that shall remain nameless, but the Tatami Galaxy actually puts a very entertaining spin on the idea of a repeating narrative. Here, the series toys with viewer expectations by twisting and overlapping events between each variation, or even giving the same characters wildly differing roles in the story. The sleazy senior Jogasaki, for example, is a sworn enemy in the second episode, but a benign helper in the third. Certainly, it's not always an easy watch. The almost constant narration rattles past at a considerable rate, often making it difficult to digest both the subtitles and the on-screen action at the same time. I think ANN's reviewer was overly harsh to describe the look of the series as aggressively alienating, but the flat, caricaturish designs will probably not be to everyone's taste either. Nevertheless, the Tatami Galaxy has, thus far, been easily one of the most fresh and original series I've seen for a long time. Patient viewers will be rewarded with a clever and witty narrative, which will no doubt withstand plenty of repeat viewings. So, there you have it. That's my pick of the Spring 2010 season. Next time, more Golgo. I promise.